I had some half-cooked urge to record a video earlier. Maybe I'll knock that out still. I keep stressing that you guys need to apply these things to reality, you know, quote-unquote reality. But the tricky thing is people are working with the two models that I keep bashing, which means the chances of that are very unlikely. So in order to answer some of these questions, in order to figure some of this shit out, you have to appreciate where you and I are in order to appreciate how it fucking functions. You really gotta dance things back and quite literally simplify things. Not just the thing in front of you, superficially speaking. You gotta dig up the roots. It's more involved, just like everything else that I keep rattling off, and yet it is painfully simple if you sit with it. I hope that makes sense. This is a test question advice. A bus should be here rather soon, and this touches on the test question advice I just left on here, among other things, and quite literally everything else I've ever spoken to. Last night I was having some epiphanies and other wacky shit, and I went back to, I don't know if some of you might not have seen the videos if you're not clicking on the profile or watching the videos, etc., etc. And it sounds fucking crazy. To preface this, what people call God, it's a process, it's a verb, it's not a noun, it's not a dude, it's not a thing. Here comes the fucking bus, god damn it. I wanted to rattle some of this off. So, getting to know you, getting to all that shit. Because a while back somebody said, "Who are you?" And they wouldn't shut the fuck up about it. I was raised in a family that was closer to, you know, authoritarian, this, that, and the other thing. Very loving, very kind, but I was raised with manners, despite what you guys might assume based on how I get up to things online. If somebody was fucking things up for others, I was raised to, you know, call bullshit because it's not going to benefit us. If somebody's being a fucking moron, you point it out and you correct the behavior. In other words, that's something that's being bred out of people these days, unfortunately. And then some. So, just a little tidbit. The other thing I wanted to rattle off in here is, and I forgot part of it. I had a piece of it a minute ago, but now I'm just doing too many things and I have to eat something. What I was going to rattle off is reality sings to itself. And one way you could think of this is, I was thinking in terms of the programming. I was thinking about how our masters work and how they leave things, you know, in quote-unquote plain sight. And this factors into the other video that I was thinking about recording, but I haven't left on here. Did that truck just move? Maybe it did. I don't know. I don't trust this shit. Hold on. Oh. Don't know if I was seeing things earlier or not. I swear that truck rolled forward a bit once they hooked up the car they were going to tow. Oh yeah, and it's Portland, as I affectionately refer to it, Puddlelandia, so I gotta pull this shit apart, and I gotta eat something, and blah, 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 and something. What I was getting at is, in the programming, our masters will tell you things. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes otherwise. Try to spare you my toilet. I just saw this relates to it. This has to do with Seminar 4 in particular. I just saw a Lexus, I believe. It's probably a newer one, or at least new to me. And this might help me. It was sigil branded with none other than L, you know, for Lexus. It's one way our masters are laughing at us. But more importantly, there was a deeper root having to do with the word of God found on this automobile, because automobiles are all sigil branded with wandering stars. Keep in mind, the word relates to, by degrees, literally, figuratively, and otherwise, Jupiter, Baal El Allah. Hence the L, which I usually will throw in there when I'm talking about Satan L or Saturn L, and Baal El Allah. Nudge, nudge, something, something. They're part of the same system, and it's a big fucking deal to appreciate these things. Our masters do. Yeah, it's a bigger thought. But point being, is it lesser magic on that fucking car? Same with what you see in the programming. Sometimes something will leap out at you. Is it in fact lesser magic, or is it simply how reality shakes out? If I were to pour some salt on the top of this lid, I was hoping there wasn't anything on there, but it looks like a 721, right? A flat surface, or you could think in terms of what a lot of fucking pseudo-intellectual duds whine about, cymatics. Reality sings to itself. So these things are going to shake out naturally, is what I'm getting at. Not unlike patterns you find in the sand on a beach. I shit you not. So some of these things are just going to happen. You'll see this if you start digging deep and you start truly producing things that are new to you, new to everybody else, and are quite literally answers to reality and how this entire fucking thing ticks. Sometimes you're going to put your finger on the pulse and not realize it. Sometimes at first, and you're going to do it like I just poorly rattled off, unintentionally. Not intentionally. Used to have an ex-girlfriend, well, a girlfriend at the time, and she used to slap non and un in front of all sorts of words. Yes, you can do it, but for some reason I have a knee-jerk reaction with that, and I really kick myself when I do. Some words it just flows, other ones it feels jarring. But what the fuck do I know? This series of videos that I plan to splice together are all over the fucking place. Apologies for that. Like I said, I haven't eaten yet. But I did want you guys to think about some of these things that I'm rattling off all over the fucking place. It's important. Seminar 4 has to do with sigil branding, among other things, including but not limited to solar and lunar cults, which you'll see other things besides automobiles that are branded with things in a number of ways. It's very telling based on what these things are. You do not hear these things come up online. You don't find this information in books. People aren't paying attention, is my point. So they don't see what's in front of them. And ironically, these are the same kids that talk about things being hidden in plain sight. And they wax poetic about being esoteric gurus. I mean, that's old jargon, but it's on par with that bullshit. They talk about how they have the truth. They don't have shit. They don't have shit. I mean, usually I'll say people are taking a shit and painting on the wall and telling you to look at it. And that's what these kids are doing. This is what we're supposed to do by design based on how our masters are structuring society and how people relate to things. Poorly relate to things. In other words, you don't see what's right in front of you. Trying not to use that analogy about the forest for the trees, but I keep rattling it off. Been overusing it. One second. Trying to clean these mitts so I can shove something in my face before I rip apart that skateboard. Now, what I was talking about having to do with that Lexus, with that car, and what you'll find in the programming sometimes. It is in the programming. Here's another thought that you should probably appreciate in terms of this. Because I didn't tell you what that thing is on the Lexus that has to do with the Word of God, and I didn't spell out what the Word of God is, or this deeper root associated with it, you could figure these things out, is the point. I'm throwing out breadcrumbs, because I have talked about some of this as well in the past, and if you took notes, or you talked to somebody who did, you can build this up for yourself. But if you're not involved, you're not invested, which means you're truly not going to work with any of this shit anyway. If that's the case, why are you here? That's a genuine question. I mean, you should ask yourself. I mean, why are you wasting time and energy if you're not going to put in time and energy? It's fruitless. And that's how most people conduct themselves. And that's why things are shit. So, I was talking about the Word of God in this regard. It lends itself to what I was babbling about in another video that should be spliced in here right before the bus came. I was talking about God. God. And I was talking about how God's a process. It's a verb. Most people haven't figured this out because you and I were both sold a horse shit message. an earthly abomination in many ways. It's the same as what turned into the tales about Jeebus, which is Mercury, Dionysus, Hermes, Buddha, Bacchus. It's the devil. It's Baphomet in contemporary times, how it's been dressed up. And it's been turned into a little white dude that was supposedly put on a cross and crucified. You know, the Jews killed Jesus and the Romans supplied the wood. I mean, this is the narrative. And he was a carpenter and blah, blah, blah. And people repeat it because they're fucking stupid. Other people who are equally dumb will tell you that it's just a flowery fucking tale that has no bearing on reality, mind you. Now, keep in mind, I'm pulling you in two different directions, but what I want you to do is appreciate both sides, as well as what stands in the middle, which is something that abridged book, the good book, the Bibli, which is also, typically thought of as 66 abridged books, which lends itself to the Word of God, an angle in there. The middle path, the road not taken, the narrow path, the middle pillar. You got to appreciate that too. Even though if you start dipping into that, and in terms of what I've talked about many times over having to do with the gate of Baal el Allah, you'll hear about Jashin and you'll hear about Boaz. And it's their interactions that produce this middle path. Doesn't come up, typically speaking. Sometimes if you go through, I think it's Israel Regardi, the guy that is best known for being associated with the Order of the Golden Dawn, or pardon me, the Hermetic. Keep in mind, the devil, Bacchus, Dionysus, Hermes, all those names again, Anubis, Buddha, they were associating the Golden Dawn specifically with the devil or Bacchus or Jesus, Isis, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Israel Regardi wrote a book, I think it's called The Middle Pillar. You could look it up. Not even close. Nada. Well, fuck a duck. Try again, they say. Hey, I'm working on it. Let me reassure you, it's somewhere on the shelf. Apparently not that shelf. Close, but don't get your hopes up. At one point, this was hard as fuck to find. Well, motherfucker. There we go. Even though I was bashing it. Did you see what I just did there? If I can rummage through 3 bookshelves, you can leisurely rummage through the fucking internet. And you're not going to find answers in these things. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn is mostly a hodgepodge of bullshit. And it's a lot of corrupted narratives that mislead you. I mean, point being, or a bigger point to take away from this, it should be in here. I've mentioned this many times over. It's the big yellow book. That book. Yeah? But really it's a big red book, because that's just the dust jacket. And it claims that it's the teachings of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, and it's not. It's the bargain bin version for the Goyim. That's what it is. For dumb fucks like you and I, that's what that is. It's not truly their teachings. And people would know this if they research, but people don't. So you have a lot of people that will talk about how this is, the cream of the crop fucking answers to reality. Crudely speaking, they don't usually say that. That's my bag, apparently. But it's not. And that thought applies to what you find on the internet. A bunch of superficial slop people buy into instead of looking into, because they were told one thing and they took it at face value because they were as superficial as they fucking come. Which is why things are bad and getting worse. So let's go back to this God talk. Because that's what I was returning to last night when I was trying to sleep. And I need to make myself eat some food. I've told you guys in the past that I've mapped an outline. I simplified what quote-unquote God is. And it blows me away. You could do this too. And it has not failed to yield results anytime I throw something at it, it spits out what I expected it to spit out, because I'm pretty fucking sure that's exactly what it is. And it's scary. It's honestly fucking scary. And it probably sounds crazy to you guys too. It should. To most. I mean, it should. You should take what I'm saying right now, you know, with many, many pinches of salt and be absolutely and utterly skeptical. I mean that, unless you work it out for yourself, or eventually, I mean, how should I put it? One second, I'm putting lemonade in my face. That book that I keep alluding to, that is, the first portion of it is about 900 pages right now. I put a bastard outline in there. It's not misleading, but it is further simplified to where I'm not spelling it out and I don't show you this map of quote-unquote God. But I do show you the basic structure behind it so that you could build it up. And that is in this first book. If any of that catches on and it goes somewhere, the book after that paints this picture. At least that's what I think I'm going to do. I think that's the plan. I'm still kicking it around trying to figure out how I want to do it. And if I want to do it. So this goes back to the other videos that I was thinking about recording on here. And I probably should clip this for a second and play the other stuff, which is what I was going to initially begin this with. 1 second. I'm not trying to pick on Drew, but I am going to use Drew as an example, initially speaking, just to paint a muddy picture. Let's see here. So this is a video starring Cal. Let's see if we can get this shit to bring up. There we go. I posted this 10 months ago. Somehow 2,000 people have seen it. 96 clicked like. Keep in mind, I'm usually censored. A number of people have chimed in. Not too many. One of them didn't understand what I'm up to, and it lends itself to where I'm going with this thought. It has brought a few people to the account. This has to do with jurisdictions. Oops. Bullshit jurisdictions that govern our life. And towards the end of this, I explain how I came by this video, how I sorted out what the guy's name is, and what other people are doing online, where they're posting shitty little clips on fucking TikTok. You can leave up to 10 minutes on there. And I forget how long how long the clips were that the gal left on here. But she was a lazy fucking fill in the blank. And it was a shit video, and she could have did better, but she didn't choose to. She was lazy, and she probably reposted something that somebody else left online. That's what kids do, because they're superficial and dumb. Simple as that. So somebody in here whined at me. Why would you speak down to your viewers? Because most people out there are fucking retards. And they need to appreciate this in order to advance. It's going to sound condescending. It's going to make me sound like a pretentious prick. But it is some of the best advice you could ever fucking hear in this life. Because you and I are in somebody else's pocket and things are shit. Because people have not realized that. Nobody else is saying it, by and large. This is why I've taken this stance. There's a method to my fucking madness. Now, a number of people have... Here, I want to bitch about this too. Somebody else said debit versus credits. So I said retards versus brain damage. If you don't understand what I'm getting at, I was going to sing a little song about this bullshit, but I usually will rattle off social engineering jargon got us in this mess to begin with. So anybody you've ever heard buy into organic is a fucking retard. It used to be food, it should be food. Food should be full of life and healthy, and there should be no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you and I should control the crop. For the people, by the people. Simple as that. That's not how it works. Same applies to the system, which involves debit and credit. You know, usury and fucking nonsense. So by using our master's jargon, we reaffirm their narrative. We reaffirm these, ironically, these horseshit jurisdictions that govern our lives and put us in our master's pocket. This applies to any and all things you could possibly fucking think of. From owning a fucking driver's license, which you don't need, to paying car insurance, which you shouldn't pay. Same applies to unconstitutional taxes and anything else you could think of in terms of these bullshit jurisdictions that people do not challenge because they have yet to challenge themselves, pull their heads out of their ass, and stop being fucking retards. So to that point, a number of people have come from this video and they've popped on by. Let's see if this thing will come up. Not what I want. Popping on by over here. And so now I've got 108 subscribers. I still have 543 videos that are live. There's more in here, but I've made most of them private. Some of the best ones, because people aren't keeping up. Now, when you go through here, typically speaking, when you shuffle through here, somehow this one got 339. At least it was a sweet video. Maybe that's why. You never know. Positive vibes only. I mean, cancel culture. I mean, shadow banning. I mean, censorship. Again, using social engineering jargon got us in this fucking mess to begin with. But people still use it because they'll follow a trend. They will repeat anything because most people are fucking retards. And they have yet to change that fact. It is crucial you guys understand that. Or I should say imperative, because I've already used the word crucial. Yeah. Most people don't see these videos. Most people won't suffer through a rant. Most people won't take notes. Most people will not click on the fucking account, which means they will not see the videos in the account. So it's fucking pointless to have subscribed to this account. What you're going to find in your feed is superficial slop. That's why it's your feed. People haven't figured this out. You don't hear people talking about that online. You don't hear people challenging that online. I've rattled this off numerous times too, but most videos were... And keep in mind, I'm burning time and energy repeating myself again and again and again and again and again. If some of these points were seen or, digested, they were internalized by the fucking retards that you and I are surrounded by, I wouldn't have to repeat myself. But by design, I am systematically censored, so I keep repeating myself because maybe somebody new might hear these things and think about them. So what I was going to get at is, and I've said this too many fucking times, and people don't realize it, Google. You plug something into Google, and now it's a fucking word game. It's a combination game. It's like a combination lock. You plug in something, and you can put dots between them. You can put plus sigils between them. You can space them many more times than one space over. That's a shit way to do it. You could do it like 2 or 3 spaces between the words, and it will bring up different results. And typically speaking, what's going to be at the top of the stack, just like your fucking feed, is a new car ad, a fucking automobile, a petroleum-based, big pharma fucking drug, designer, drugs, the opposite of medicine. This is what you're going to find. A video game, a movie, a celebrity, a celebrity puppet. But it's not going to have to do with what you're looking for, unless that's what you're looking for. What I'm saying is, imagine that you found something that reflects reality. Imagine, and this is pretty rare, but imagine you're looking for a book from 1867, and you're trying to figure out what the author's name is. So you're plugging in the title. But the title has to do with... Okay, I was talking about Lexus in the other video. Say the title has Lexus in there. You're just going to keep seeing fucking car ads. Now, you can shuffle down. You can keep scrolling. Scrolling, as the kids like to think of, or at least they used to. But the moment you step away from it, the moment you look away from it, the moment something else distracts you, Google's going to pull you back up to the top of the stack and you have to start over. This is by design. This is to do away with attention spans. This is to deter you. This is in place to discourage you from thinking for yourself and finding shit that fucking matters. Because Google is no longer a search engine. It used to work and it worked just fine. But years back, our masters openly stated this, and this is why now you quite literally see more, or see more anyway, or some stupid shit towards the bottom, as if you ran into the end of the internet. It's a fucking joke. And keep in mind, that's extra steps, like what they said in Rick and Morty, because that's fucking lesser magic in the programming, if you saw those episodes. Pardon me. You shouldn't have to click to another page. The other example I rattle off is when you plug in your login, now you got to go to a separate page for your password, because our masters want you to be tripped up. And think about extra steps. I say simplify things, heathens. And these things are in place so that you don't do that, and you don't think in terms of that, and it rewires your fucking brain. And it's working quite well. So the retards that you and I are surrounded by, how should I put it? I mean, they're worse than ever before. They're dumber than they used to be. It's fucking terrifying. It is fucking terrifying. Yeah. So, you used to be able to scroll and you used to have a bunch of fucking results. And then our masters openly stated that what they were going to do, because they said, essentially, the Goyim, you and I, the fucking retards out there, they're seeing too many answers. They're getting too many results. We need to simplify that. We need to limit that. And that's what you see now. They did that. They reworked, they recalibrated Google, and now it's a tool of propaganda. And it doesn't come up. They're not concerned with this. They would be if they weren't fucking retards. But they are. Now, what I'm complaining about in this account, people not clicking on it, people not going through the videos, taking notes, considering what I've said. It lends itself to you and I being surrounded by superficial fucking retards that aren't worth their salt. I was watching a Comedy Central roast from, I think it was 2011. And somebody used the word retards. And they said, now it's not socially, acceptable, blah, 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 blah. These things are in place. To do what? To censor you and I. To pave the way for politically correct horse shit. Usually when I think of that, I think of this. Jeremy Piven, PCU movie. Because our masters were telling us what's coming. This is also some fine lesser magic, but some people have talked about that online. It's fucked up, is what it is. And this was from years back. This is the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 1994. They were telling us what they were going to do. And now we're living through it. And you'll see this in the fucking programming again and again and again. Because it's lesser magic. Because you and I are part of a consent-based system, which is why they do tell us things. Now, this lends itself to what I originally wanted to rattle off. And I don't remember how I wanted to word most of it, but I might scratch some of it out on the board. We'll see. So I've been telling people that I've employed a number of tactics that our masters utilize. And it goes over people's heads. They don't fucking care. They don't fucking get it. Yeah? So one of the things our masters do is you'll be watching... What do I need? I need something that I can fucking throw around or something. I don't know. Here. You see that? Oh, look, I'm doing this. Oh, fuck me. Wow, it's just great. This bottle is doing things. But instead of me saying this bottle is doing things, I will be rattling off something that sounds more like a parable. I'll be rattling off, the script. But there will be layers to the script, not unlike those jurisdictions that I was talking about. And behind all of this, if you think in terms of this, say you start looking up the etymology of the name of the characters in this script that I'm babbling about, or the things that are involved in this script that I'm babbling about. While I'm showing you this, this is tits and explosions. This is bread and circuses, motherfucker. And while that's happening, I'm quite literally telling you something in terms of lesser magic that people, superficially speaking, are not going to look up. They're not going to think about, and they're sure as shit not going to dip into. Especially now that you got to scroll to the bottom of fucking Google, and trying to get there is a Herculean task. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I've utilized this tactic numerous times online, and people don't do these things. I've openly given you answers to things you want to know, and you guys are just, show me the next fucking video. What's the next one like? And or you don't scroll back and watch any of the videos that came prior to that. Or you don't scroll back. You don't watch the other videos before the one that I'm babbling about. Again, I gotta fucking eat. People are lazy and fucking stupid. So the flip side to this is where tits and explosions were, right? You'll still get the parable, but it will be superficial as fuck. Imagine a really dumb comedy. Okay? I'm trying to think of what the fuck the name is that. What's the name of that movie? It's something like, what's your number? What's your... Fuck, I can't think of what it is. It's got the gal from the Scary Movies in it. I can't remember what it is. She was also in the best weed movie ever. Happy Face. I can't think of it. Either way. you'll hear just superficial shit coming out of somebody's mouth. And they'll just be trucking along, doing their fucking thing. And in between all of that, you'll see that for a very brief second. Let's say, written in dust on the side of a car window. And if you don't pause the fucking video or TV show or whatever the fuck, and you don't scribble that down and think about it, well, you were just shown lesser magic. You were just taught something. But instead, you were listening to the fucking garbage come out of somebody's mouth, out of a celebrity puppet's mouth, and you were distracted. And you're so fucking superficial and lazy, you're not gonna fucking do what I just said. You probably didn't even see what I just said because there was a fucking face yapping at you like a goddamn Muppet. This is how our masters work. And I've been utilizing the same fucking thing. Some of the answers you guys want, I've left them in plain sight. But people are fucking stupid and lazy and blah, 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 blah. It's not what you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear. What's another one? Okay, so this isn't the best example, but usually what I'll tell you is, here, what do we got? We got this and this. Arbitrarily speaking, I'm just grabbing a black and a white jug of fucking paint. So, this is a big budget Hollywood movie that you probably know about. Let's call it The Sound of Freedom. Okay? This is a low budget film that you probably don't know about. Let's call that God is a Bullet. If you're curious what I'm talking about, look back in the calendar cycle of 2023 and look up this one first, because it came first, God is a Bullet. Then look up The Sound of Freedom, starring a bunch of pedophiles. Yeah. There's a line in that fucking movie where Jim says something to the effect of, never trust a pedophile. Comes out of his mouth, and he's referring to himself. But what the fuck do I know? And it's our masters laughing at us in terms of lesser magic. And people didn't bat a lash. They praised it. Yeah. So back to point. People saw this. People didn't see this. What am I getting at? This doesn't contain lesser magic for the most part. That's about all you get. That's about all you get, aside from the fact that you're financing human trafficking. This here contains a shit ton of lesser magic through the entire film. The entire fucking film. It is not only behind the scenes, the occult hidden in plain sight, it is quite literally tattooed on the faces of the fucking people, the celebrity puppets in this case, who are a part of this passion play. It's a great example, if you think about it, but most people won't. What I'm getting at with that is, I don't like Terry Pratchett. I don't like him at all. But there's, do you know Sean Astin from The Goonies? That was, what's his name? Sam in Lord of the Rings. He was in a project, if I'm not mistaken, that is a small screen adaptation of Terry Pratchett stuff. Now, keep in mind, the Terry Pratchett stuff will reaffirm the bullshit flat earth. Now, it was a low-budget project. It does have some lesser magic in it. Most of it is fucking garbage, including the Terry Pratchett story. You can look that up. And that's more like the white jug again. If you think in terms of the black jug, I'm trying to think. You could think of any goddamn Hollywood picture. What do we got? No, that was another, that was Dark Matter that I was bitching about, and that's a TV show. Let's think of Enemy of the State. With Will Smith, which is quite literally a reboot of The Conversation starring Gene Hackman, and they both star Gene Hackman. If you think of Enemy of the State, it's back to bread and circuses. The beginning's just a bunch of stupid fucking shit. And if you watch The Conversation, it's a slow pan into the video where you're listening to a conversation, and it's very engaging, and it's neat, and it's telling of the times and how we're being manipulated. But the other point, to parallel this with Terry Pratchett, is you're going to see globe theory propaganda and fucking satellites that don't exist and a bunch of other nonsense. If this is your first time hanging out with me, look up the metals used in a fucking satellite, or the ISS for fuck's sake. Look up the points at which they would freeze and when they would melt. And then Just think about how many times a satellite would experience a sunrise and a sunset in a 24-hour period. These things would be dropping out of the sky and killing people. I mean, in other words, it would not be beneficial to us to put these giant chunks of metal in the sky that would kill people regularly. They wouldn't work, is what I'm saying. It wouldn't work, even if you could do that, which you can't, because that's not how things work anyway. An atmosphere doesn't magically terminate at a fucking threshold of a vacuum, a fairy tale vacuum, which you frequently see our masters, either they didn't understand what they were doing, kind of like the old, Universal logos. You'll see some of that, and you'll see how that's been corrupted over time. Too many fucking thoughts, hold on. The old Universal logos, if you look really close, there's a figure 8, and then you got the globe theory in between this, because they're telling you something. And now it's been dressed up as the Van Allen radiation belts and other fucking horse shit and a bunch of fairy tales. These are things that should come up. They don't come up because people aren't thinking for themselves. They don't recognize what's in fucking plain sight. The big takeaway from this is you're going to get a lot of lesser magic in the low budget shit, typically speaking, because people won't fucking watch it. You're going to get superficial lesser magic in the big budget shit because a lot of people there's a good chance a lot of fucking retards are going to watch it. They're going to watch those Transformer movies, which is why we got more of them. They're going to watch the Fast and the Furious movies. That's why we got more of them. And storytelling is going to take a rapid decline. It's going to plummet into the sea. Not like NASA rockets by design. The shitty thing I was going to parallel with this is I'll leave a fucking video online where I will fucking spell things out and tell you an answer. Behind the scenes, and it comes out of my fucking mouth, and I will get 0 views. But if I leave a goddamn dog video online where I'm paralleling that with unconstitutional taxation, this is roughly the time frame, and I'll show you in a second. What I want you to do is appreciate the view counts and how many videos are from this point on. I post something pretty much every day for you guys. Sometimes it's repetitive rants. Usually I'll try to mix something else in there for you, but there's a lot in here in between then and now. Now, if I click on this, it's April 11th that I'm looking for. And it should be right around here, I think. Unless I just passed it. Yeah, it's this one. 10,000 views. And this is what it is. It's cute. It's fucking stupid. And it's as superficial as it fucking comes. Which is why it was in your feed. What was it? 506 people fucking clicked like on there? And look at that. Did it just bring me to the top of the stack? Pretty sure it did. Correct me if I'm wrong. This one got 44 fucking views. Stupid shit. These things, I imagine, would, but they don't anymore. They used to. I figure there's some tits and ass. Back to the top of the stack.
Hi, I'm Psylocke. Hey y'all, I'm Rogue. Hi, I'm Jubilee. And this is Triple X Sweat. All right, mutants, let's go!
By the way, the end of that is lesser magic. If you guys are picking up what I'm putting down, but most people aren't. Nobody said a goddamn thing about that. This is when I say, as always, what the fuck do I know? And if you hung out, thanks for hanging out.